Hey, how you doing? My name's Joe. I'm making this video for my social psychology class, where we're looking at different forms of media and seeing how these social psychological concepts are portrayed throughout uh, that certain media. And I am going to try to show how the concept of obedience is portrayed throughout the movie Gladiator. Now, Gladiator is hands down one of my favorite films. It is amazing. The acting, it's just great. And if you haven't seen it, please go out and see it. I think it's on Netflix. Maybe I know it's on Amazon, but like if you haven't seen it, like it is a timepiece. Just you will love it. Just go see it. So the movie takes place in year 180 in Roman times, the Roman Empire, and it starts off with our protagonist Maximus, who is a Roman general. And this man is beloved by everybody. He's beloved by his troops, and he's beloved by his emperor. Like he's beloved so much by the emperor that the emperor even said that like he wished like Maximus was the son that he wished he had. And so one day the emperor told Maximus that, hey, I'm going to give power back to the people of Rome. I don't want any more emperors. I'm giving it to the Senate, and the power is going back to the people. And so the emperor's real son, Commodus, who didn't like that, you know, he's like, you're giving away my birthright. And so Commodus killed his father. And knowing that Maximus would stand in his way of getting the throne, he pretty much puts a hit out on Maximus and his family. And so Maximus runs, and he does find out that his family, his wife, and his son were brutally murdered. So he gets thrown into slavery and he becomes a gladiator while he's in slavery. He's pretty much forced to become a gladiator, and he fights under the name Spaniard because remember, he lost his name, he lost his title, he lost his land, and he also has a hit out for his life. So he fights under the name Spaniard just so no one would know who he really is. So fast forward, Commodus decides he wants to put on some games for the people, to kind of keep the peace per se. So he puts on 100 days worth of games at the Colosseum in Rome. And this includes gladiator fights. And so Maximus and other gladiators go to the Colosseum and participate in the games. And so this leads to more instances where Maximus snubs Commodus, and then all this leads to a fight at the end where Maximus kills Commodus in the arena, and the power goes back to the people. And Maximus also dies because he was like stabbed by Commodus when nobody was looking before the match. And so they both die, but Maximus does kill Commodus in the end, and the power goes back to the people. Again, amazing movie. And throughout this film, there have been so many, or there are so many social psychological concepts that are portrayed, but I think obedience is one that is like shown time and time again. And it makes sense, right? It's Roman times. You're dealing with slavery and military and so on and so forth. Like, so what is obedience, right? So obedience is a form of social influence where an individual acts in response to a direct order from another individual. And without that order, like the individual probably wouldn't have done that action. Now, obedience is different than compliance. Um, Obedience, you're told and directed to do something, whereas compliance, you end up doing stuff based off of social pressure. And there have been many social psychological studies to see how far people would go with obedience. One of the most popular studies was the Zimbardo's prison experiment, where the social psychologist Philip Zimbardo, and I hope I'm saying his name right, set up a mock prison at Stanford and assigned his students roles to play as either like prisoners or guards. And what he found was that the participants had like got so involved in their roles with their guards utilizing like Altarian techniques to gain obedience from the students who were playing the prisoners. And this showed like how easy people like are influenced by like characteristics and roles and situations, and how environmental factors play a role, and how people like are prone to be obedient, you know? Obedience is a power thing. Like we learn that there are different types of power. There's reward power, there's coercive power, there's legitimate power, there's referent power, and there's expert power, which all, in some form of a way, like obedience is given, you know. And all of these power obedience relationships are displayed throughout the movie, starting with this scene right here. This scene where troops are taking a knee when Maximus walks by, like, shows obedience. These men are about to go into battle, and as a sign of respect, when the general walks by, you bow or take a knee. This is the referent power obedience relationship, where these men identify with Maximus and have respect for him as a military leader. Have this scene. In this scene, you saw when Commodus and Maximus finally meet again. And Maximus shows Commodus who he really is. And this represents a coercive power obedience relationship where Maximus, when you saw him take off his helmet because he knew that Commodus could punish him and the other gladiators if he refused to do what he was told. Here's an example of the legitimate power obedience relationship.
We who are about to die, salute you!
As you saw, like the gladiator, or at least the one opposite of Maximus, saluted Commodus before the fight. And this is the rule, you know, when a person goes into a fight, they salute. He is obeying that rule, while Maximus decides, no, he doesn't want to obey it. And so the other gladiator, again, thinks that Commodus has the legitimate power, so he is obeying that rule, while Maximus thinks that Commodus does not have legitimate power, so he's disobeying the rule. Finally, the scene I'm about to show you is actually a pretty awesome scene in the movie. It's where Maximus is ordering the other gladiators into fighting positions. So, as you saw, this would be an example of the expert power obedience relationship, where the other gladiators were listening to the orders of Maximus because they believed in his skills and his abilities. And so those are just a few examples of the obedience concept that I chose. There are many, many more examples throughout this film. And that's why I said in the beginning, like, although there are other social psychological concepts that are displayed in this film, like, obedience concept, I think, is like a key one. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and if you haven't gone to see the movie, again, please do so. So yeah, thanks for watching.